Ambassador, thank you so much for chatting with me on All Israel News. I understand you're on the way to the airport. Are you in Washington en route to Jerusalem?
Yes, Joel. Well, thank you. It's good to be with you. I'm en route from Washington to Newark, where I get a flight to Washington, to Jerusalem. Yes.
I know that exact flight many times. Wow, this is a huge development. I'm so encouraged. What can you tell me first about kind of how this thing has played out, and then what's happening next? Is the president definitely coming to speak at the Knesset? Maybe we start there, because that's the news going forward.
Yeah. Well, it's constantly changing. The Trump White House is very dynamic. But as it stands now, the president will be coming, please God, Monday morning.
Okay.
Early, and then going straight up to Jerusalem to speak at the Knesset.
On Monday. That's the plan.
On Monday.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Do you know if he's going to anywhere else in the region?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. It'll be a short visit to Israel.
Okay.
There is talk that he'll visit Egypt as well.
Right.
The same day, also a very short visit.
Okay.
I think one has to point out the tremendous symbolic aspect of the president visiting the day before Simchat Torah.
Yes.
Tuesday will be the holiday.
Unbelievable.
The very same holiday on which the Hamas stormed southern Israel and took these people hostage, and they'll be released on the very day that they were taken hostage, or a day before.
I appreciate you pointing that out, Ambassador, because of the differences between the Hebrew calendar and the Western calendar. The fact that we've just had October 7th. I don't think people realize that on the Hebrew calendar, it's going to be 2 years to the day.
2 years to the day. It's quite remarkable. About your question as how this came about, we have to pay attention to two vectors. The first vector is the president decided that it was time to lay the law down with the countries that are hosting Hamas leaders. And this was a last resort, but very, very effective threat. Either turn the screws on Hamas leaders and make sure that they follow through on what we want to get accomplished, and that's the release of the hostages, or else you're going to have to throw them out. And I think that Turkey in particular, once it was brought into the negotiating process, Turkey gives safety to a number of Hamas leaders. As a matter of fact, their entire financial structure is in Turkey.
Wow.
So between Turkey and Qatar, where the Hamas leaders also reside, they both laid down the law and made it very clear to Hamas leadership that they've got to move on this, and that was due to the president's pressure. That's the first vector.
Okay.
A lot, ironically, the decision to go ahead with that was probably due in no small measure to our missile attack on the leadership of Hamas itself in Qatar. I know that everybody will raise eyebrows and say, well, that was condemned and everybody was upset and even the prime minister apologized. Well, the prime minister did not apologize. That was completely taken out of context.
My understanding from the reporting was that he expressed regret for the death of a particular Qatari civilian.
For a Qatari civilian that was killed. Qatar wanted that kind of fig leaf. They wanted that self-respect. So the prime minister paid that respect, but it was not an apology by any means. So it was in many respects, it was actually a very successful missile attack because it made it very clear to Hamas leadership that they're not going to be safe anywhere. And they could not maintain this refuge in Turkey and Qatar. And the message was sent to the leadership of those countries as well. So I think that had much to do with the president's decision to insist that it was time that they act in accordance with a civility, with any basic moral conscience, and tell Hamas that they have to move ahead, and this is what the president wants.
Right.
That was the first vector. The second vector is the fact that our soldiers who have risen like lions to defend the country.
Your son being one of them, who gave his life in the early months in a special forces unit to defeat Hamas and protect us. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you for your service.
Thank you for that, Joel. But he and his colleagues and the hundreds of thousands of soldiers who participated throughout this war, we have surrounded Gaza City and made it very clear. Prime Minister Netanyahu could not have been clearer. He said, if we don't move ahead with negotiations, we're going to move ahead with the military operations. And we were ready, we were poised, we still are, to take Gaza City, the last stronghold of Hamas, and completely eliminate them. We've eliminated some 23 out of 25 battalions, and we could take out the battalions that were reconstituted in Gaza City as well. So they felt the noose was around their neck, and ultimately what we have here is a surrender, an admission of defeat on the part of Hamas, because the parameters of the Trump plan include a complete disarming of Hamas, a removal of Hamas from power, and an international agency that will see to it that Hamas and the Gaza Strip are completely demilitarized and de-radicalized. So that is 180 degrees from what Hamas wanted.
Yeah.
And now we just have to, be vigilant and make sure that phase 2 and 3 of the Trump parameters are actually implemented on time and to the degree that it's intended.
Yeah, because you and I are recording this interview as you're heading to the airport to head to Israel on Thursday. But literally just yesterday, just hours before the president announced to the world that the deal was done, there was, I think it was 5 Hamas terrorists sprang out of a terror tunnel and tried to ambush an Israeli unit, tried to kidnap somebody. And just a few days before that, right, Israeli forces found long-range missiles in part of Gaza ready to fire on central Israel. Like, this is still a very serious situation. How confident is the prime minister and his senior team that Israel stepping back and controlling maybe 53% rather than 86% or whatever we can still get to a demilitarization, which is point 1 on President Trump's remarkable 20-point plan?
Well, look, we're hopeful more than confident. If the international agency that the president is establishing is not able to disarm entirely Hamas and demilitarize it, well, then we're going to have to go back in, and we're ready to do that. Look, there's 450 miles of terror tunnels in an area that's only 24 miles long and 8 miles wide. And no army in the world has had to deal with the extent of this terror network. So it's going to take time for any agency, for any military or civilian organization that's come together to demilitarize Gaza. It's going to take them time to actually implement this, because those terror tunnels have to be gone through, and there's so many different weapons that have been smuggled into Gaza over the years, mind-boggling numbers. So it's going to take a bit of time, but we are very, very hopeful. The president, look, he took upon himself to be the chairman of this peace board, he calls it.
Yeah.
I heard him in the Oval. We were sitting there, and he was talking about the different building projects he's done around the world, and now he's talking about, being responsible for rebuilding Gaza. So he sees this as a very personal endeavor, and usually when President Trump gets behind something, it gets done. So, we're very, very hopeful that at the end of the day, this will be implemented. If it's not, there won't be peace. The only way for there to be peace is for Gaza to be demilitarized. Israel cannot live once again with jihadi militants, with Islamic fascists on our border. We just can't do it. Not in Gaza, not in Syria, not in Lebanon. This is a very, very radical extremist ideology. By the way, Joel, they don't even believe in a Palestinian state. I mean,
right.
all these happy idiots running around the campuses screaming the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. This is a caliphate organization. They're talking, this is Muslim Brotherhood.
Right.
This means that you have to have a caliphate and destroy Judeo-Christian civilization. And the beauty of the Abraham Accords is that it is the moderate Muslims, the ones who want a reformation within Islam, who are coming and saying, let's live side by side with Judeo-Christian civilization. And the first step to that is to accept Israel. So that's really what the battle is here against Iran and its proxies. Whether they're Shia or they're Sunni, they believe in a very, very radical extremist version of Islam, which means to eradicate us and then you and then the United States.
Yeah.
So we are very, very hopeful that this will succeed. It is a victory for the West. It is a defeat for Iran. That is very important. And we will persist in our hope that this goes the distance.
Amen. One last question, and I know you got to go. One last question, and that is, when I study this 20-point plan, I can't see where Israel would want more. I mean, I'm sure there's some in the cabinet I know who wanted to occupy and retake Gaza, and even biblically in Zephaniah chapter 2, that's actually going to happen one day, apparently prophetically. But in the current world that we live in, it seems like Israel got everything it was asking for to achieve its war aims, assuming that everything gets implemented as written. But could you just describe, before we go, just some of the atmospherics, in the Oval, between the president and the prime minister, because this is an extraordinary relationship that has achieved unprecedented achievements just in 6 months, 7 months.
Well, you're on to something. Not having been with us in the Oval, you're really onto something, Joel, because there was this narrative that some journalists created. There was daylight between the president and the prime minister.
Oh yeah, the president was using foul language to describe how much.
Language was various. Well, it never happened. It's all a bunch of baloney or malarkey, as the former president used to say. No, I sat next to the prime minister at lunch with the president across the table from the vice president and the secretary of state. It was a jovial conversation, but nothing speaks more to the fact that they have a wonderful relationship than the simple fact that the 20 points, as you mentioned, basically embraces the government's position from day one,
yes.
which was all the hostages have to be released, Gaza has to be disarmed, Hamas has to be disarmed, Gaza demilitarized, and a situation created where Gaza could never again become a jihadi stronghold. And here the president came with his plan, and that's exactly what appears in the plan, that the Hamas cannot remain standing. They cannot be in any way part of governing Gaza. They have to be completely disarmed. Gaza has to be completely demilitarized. And he created an international agency which is poised to do that and has been flagged with the responsibility to accomplish that. So that speaks more than 1,000 words about the relationship between them. They actually embraced the prime minister's position and put it into the peace plan.
Can you believe, I know I said one more question, but I have to just say before you go, can you believe where God has put you? You're at the epicenter, for the prime minister, and my dear friend Mike Huckabee in Jerusalem for President Trump. I mean, you two, an Orthodox Jew and a devout evangelical Christian, are at the epicenter of the epicenter. It's an extraordinary moment.
It is an extraordinary moment, and I think it speaks so much to the values that we share, that this really is a battle for Judeo-Christian civilization. And together, we are working to that end, that we want to see a Muslim civilization live side by side without intent of one devouring the other.
Yeah.
And I think that it really is the hand of God that we're seeing here with between myself and Mike Huckabee, who's a great dear friend, a great ambassador, is doing incredible stuff in Jerusalem, and we're in constant contact. And I don't think there's ever been this kind of relationship between Israel's ambassador in Washington and Washington's ambassador in Jerusalem. So.
Amazing.
What can I tell you?
Well,
God bless.
I'm so grateful. I don't think I've ever said to somebody, and a fellow Israeli, Shabbat Shalom, with such a confidence that the Shalom was really going to be part of Shabbat, as I'm saying to you right now. So Shabbat Shalom, my friend.
I don't know if you know this, but my son's last words before the explosion went off that killed him was Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He announced. Yeah, he announced on the wireless. He and his team were in search of a shaft to a tunnel in northern Gaza, and he had found the shaft. And he announced on the radio, "We have found the shaft. Shabbat Shalom." And as soon as he said Shalom, the explosion went off.
Oh, gosh.
So Shabbat Shalom is very meaningful to me, and I appreciate that. And indeed, we want a Shabbat Shalom not only of the week, but of humanity.
Oh, yes, and of a new Jewish year. So, Shabbat Shalom, happy Sukkot, happy Simchat Torah, and a very happy New Year to you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
I'm only sorry that I'm not jumping on the plane with you and going, but I've got to stay and focus on my family, and we'll do that.
May God comfort you on the loss of your mom, and may you know only good things in the coming year.
Thank you. Likewise, my friend. All right. God bless you. Thanks for being part of All Israel News.